Welcome to Criterion Reviews. I'm Nathan, and today I'll be going over my top 10 favorite Criterion films. I came up with this list a few months ago. I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months ago at this point. And at the time I did the list, I decided to do strictly 10 films, no ties. But this time I decided to do ties because there are just some movies that are some of my favorites that I need to mention. So even though this isn't technically a top 10, I counted, there's 18 movies here, I'm still going to treat it as a top 10. So here we go. Also, these films are ranked in order. Which is something I don't typically do, but I was able to do it with this list. So, starting at number 10, we have A Brighter Summer Day. I've mentioned on a few different occasions how much this movie impacted me. It really floored me. I think one of the reasons it did is because I just went in there with no expectations. I heard amazing reviews about this movie, so naturally I was curious. At 4 hours, I was like, you know what, I'll just split this up into 2 days. I'll watch 2 hours one day and 2 hours the next day, but the movie was so captivating, I ended up watching the whole thing. I mean, I can't say enough good stuff about this movie. It's fantastic. I should do a rewatch of it soon, because it's been a while. Next one, Bicycle Thieves. I saw this for the first time also last year. I was at work and I actually watched it on my cell phone because I had nothing else to watch it on. And even through a cell phone, I was still able to get a really awesome emotional experience from this movie. Amazing film. No ties yet. These are all single films. Next one, Le Samurai, Jean-Pierre Melville. One of my first Criterion movies, so that's probably why it's on my top 10. I really love this movie. I love the style. I love the pacing. It's very hypnotic. That's a good way to describe it. This is one of my favorites. All right, our first tie of the list, and they are both David Lynch films. Tied, we have Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet. Even though both of these films are David Lynch and they're both thriller movies, Mulholland Drive is definitely the more surreal, more experimental of the two. Blue Velvet's actually a great place to start with David Lynch because the movie's a lot more straightforward. Not to say there isn't surreal moments in it, because there is, but both are just amazing, crazy thrillers. I love these movies. Our next tie is Ghost World and Rushmore. These are two very different movies, but I tied them together because they're like my two favorite kind of quirky coming-of-age films. I mean, both the characters of Eden and Max Fisher are very, very different type of people, but I just love both of these movies. So I couldn't pick one over the other, so they're tied. Next tie on the list are my two favorite samurai movies. I think I've mentioned before that samurai movies are the reason I discovered Criterion films. So Harikiri, tied with Seven Samurai. These are my two favorite samurai movies. Seven Samurai is a pretty obvious choice, but I mean, it really is it's as good as everybody says. It's like the epic adventure war film to end all epic adventure war films. I mean, it's incredible. And then Harikiri is a very different type of samurai movie. It's much more of a drama. There really isn't any crazy battle sequences and stuff. You just get so invested in the story. It's heartbreaking. It's gorgeous. I mean, both these movies are they're perfect. Now, I didn't do a tie with this one, but technically I totally could have. I would have tied it with 8.5 and Omnicord, but I decided I could pick this one on its own. La Dolce Vita, Fellini. I love this movie. I still don't fully understand it. I think that's another reason why I appreciate it, is because there's a lot of cryptic stuff in this movie. You can interpret it many different ways, but it's also just one of the most beautiful looking films I've ever seen. So I had to put that on the list. My favorite Fellini film so far. Another one I've mentioned numerous times, Paris, Texas. There's really not more for me to say about this. It's just one of my all-time favorite movies. One of the greatest film endings ever. It's the definition of a bittersweet ending. All right, we're almost done. At number 2, we have two Richard Linklater films, Boyhood and the Before trilogy. So technically 4 films. Yeah, I've mentioned numerous times Boyhood is an extremely personal film for me. I love this movie. I'm the same age, or roughly the same age, as the main character in this film, so a lot of the things he went through, I also went through, so I just have an incredible amount of nostalgia for this movie. And it's probably the most sincere, authentic coming-of-age movie I've ever seen. And of course, the Before trilogy. I mean, both of these films are related in the sense that they're both explore humanity at the various stages in their lives, and you get to know these characters, you get to understand these characters, and you get to love these characters. And number one, my all-time favorite so far, I still have a lot of movies to see, Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy. Yeah, I watched these movies last year on the Criterion channel, and I loved them so much that I literally bought it the second I finished Red. I ordered this. I just had to. I can't even describe the emotional experience this movie took me through. It's one of the most gorgeous trilogies. It's one of the most perfect trilogies ever. And they are connected. I mean, technically it is a thematic trilogy, but the stories do have a finality in the ending of Red, which is very amazing. So yeah, but I still have a lot of Criterion movies to go. I might do updates depending on how many Criterion movies I see, and I'm just like blown away by them. I could do like another updated version of my top 10, but so far these are my top 10 Criterion films of all time. And yeah, we'll see if that'll ever change. Thanks for watching.